In this video, I'm going to show you an easy way of finding the fractions 1/4 and 1/2 when looking at real life objects. So here we have an array of different shapes. We have some small squares, some larger squares, and we have some circles. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by finding half, and once we've found half, it is really simple to find 1/4. So just a bit of background knowledge. When it comes to fractions, you have a number on top and a number on the bottom. So the number on top has a fancy name, and that is called our numerator. And the number on the bottom has a different name, and that is called the denominator. So when you are looking at different papers or when you come across a question, it's important to know the names of these numbers, because you might be asked what is the value of the numerator or what is the value of the denominator. Later on in the fractions topic, when it comes to comparing and even finding equivalents or adding and subtracting fractions, you will need to know what the numerator and denominator are. So the numerator tells us the number of parts we need. Okay, and the denominator tells us the total number of parts. So if we add those notes on, so in a half you have 2 parts in total. So if I put total parts, and as I mentioned, your numerator is the number you have. Okay, so that's the number we have. So out of the total parts, these would be, in this case, it would be shaded or amount of parts. We'll put amount needed, and then you can see that. Okay, so we have the fraction 1/2. We need 1 part out of 2 total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on this first little square, and we need to know that there are 2 parts in total. So if I'm looking at this square here, right now there is 1 part total, but we need 2. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a different colour and I'm going to split it right down the middle, because if I'm splitting something in 2, you split it in half. So that's there. Okay, now we have 2 parts in total and we're aware of that, but what we need to do is we need to shade 1, and that's because that is our numerator, that's how many we need. So I'm just going to take the crayon and I will shade one of those 2 parts, and now we have the fraction 1/2. Same again if I do it with this larger square. Now, sometimes you can count squares, but in this case, we're just looking at the shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how many are across. So 1, 2, 3, 4 squares across. I know that half of 4 divided by 2 is 2. Again, I'm going to split it up. This time, just to show you the difference, I'm going to do it sideways. Now, this is a square, so I know that the sides are equal. Okay, so I split it in 2 again. And then I'm just going to shave 1/2. So now we can see 1/2. Sometimes you'll be given an array of objects. You might be given in your practice question some cupcakes and some socks rather than just 1 part. So an easy way of finding half, we know there's 2 in total. So we're going to count every other shape. So here I've got 1 shaded, so that's my 1 part. And the second one I'm going to leave blank, that's my second total. Then I go again, 1 part out of blank, 2 total. Next one, 1 part out of blank, 2 total. Now 1 part out of blank, 2 total. So I know that of that first line I have now shaded 1/2. Now we've done half, it's easy to move on to quarters. So a quarter, just like we showed with the half, has a numerator and a denominator. It'll be 1/4. 4 stands for quarter. Again, we've got the numerator. So if I label these, and that is the amount needed. And the denominator is our total number of parts. So instead of 2 this time, it is 4. So total parts. instead of splitting our shape into 2, we will now split it into 4. So if we go back to the small square up top, we're going to start off by splitting it into 2. Now it's in halves. So it's in 2 parts, but we need it into 2 more. So I'm going to split it in half again. Now can you see 4 parts? And if we go back to our numerator, how many of those do we need to shade? 1/4 means we're shading 1 part. That is 1/4. Again, we're going to go back to the big square. So start by splitting it in 2. I'll go the same way as I did before. And after we split it in 2, we split it into half again. So half and half again, that makes 1/4. Now we have a total of 4 parts. We have the fraction 1/4, so we want one of those parts shaded. Now it comes to the array, and this is where it's slightly different. So we've got 4 parts in total this time, not 2. So instead of counting every other shape and shading it, we're going to shade every 4th shape. So we start off by shading the first one, so that's our 1. And now we're going to continue counting to 4. So 2, 3, 4. Now we go back to 1. So we shade it. 2, 3, 4. So we can see that 1/4 and 1/2 are different.